Good day and welcome to the NetEase 2020 first quarter earnings conference call. Today's conference is being recorded. At this time, I would like to turn the conference over to Margaret Shi, IR Director of NetEase. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, operator. Please note the discussion today will contain forward-looking statements relating to future performance of the company and are intended to qualify for a safe harbor from liability as established by the U.S. Private Securities Litigation Reform Act. Such statements are not guarantees of future performance and are subject to certain risks and uncertainties, assumptions, and other factors. Some of these risks are beyond the company's control and could cause actual results to differ materially from those mentioned in today's press release and its discussion. A general discussion of the risk factors that could affect NetEase's business and financial results is included in certain filings of the company with the Securities and Exchange Commission, including its annual form on Form 20-F and with the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. The company does not undertake any obligation to update this forward-looking information except as required by law. During today's call, management will also discuss certain non-GAAP financial measures for comparison purposes only. For a definition of non-GAAP financial measures and a reconciliation of GAAP to non-GAAP financial results, please see the 2020 second quarter earnings news release issued earlier today. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded. In addition, an investor presentation and a webcast replay of this conference call will be available on the NetEase corporate website at ir.netease.com. Joining us today on the call from NetEase's senior management team is Mr. William Ding, Chief Executive Officer, and Mr. Charles Yang, Chief Financial Officer. I will now turn the call over to Charles, who will read the prepared remarks on behalf of William.
Thank you, Margaret, and thank you everyone for participating in today's call. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone that all percentages are based on renminbi. This is our very first earnings call as a public company on both NASDAQ and the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. With the support of our shareholders, this past June, we celebrated our 20th anniversary on NASDAQ and completed our listing on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. This dual listing reminds us of our commitment to shareholders, both domestically and overseas, of our deep responsibility to continue creating value for our growing base of global stakeholders. I'm pleased to report a solid second quarter amongst challenging macro backdrop, with healthy gains across each of our primary business lines. Once again, we saw steady performances from our flagship titles and franchises and rapid growth from Youdao and NetEase Cloud Music. In total, we grew our net revenues year over year by nearly 26% to renminbi 18.2 billion for this quarter, and our net income from continuing operations attributable to our shareholders grew year over year by 35% to renminbi 4.5 billion. Our online games was up 21% in the second quarter year over year, reaching net revenue of renminbi 13.8 billion, driven by the impressive strength of our existing titles. Our flagship Fantasy Westward Journey series and Westward Journey series continued their strong performances in the second quarter. As two of the largest and longest-running game IPs in China, both games consistently attract a loyal crowd. Adding to the success of our Fantasy Westward Journey franchise, we introduced Fantasy Westward Journey H5 in June, a more casual and light version of the legacy IP. This new addition has captivated an untapped audience, enlarging the user base of our Fantasy Westward Journey franchise even further. While we continue to grow and strengthen our legacy franchises, many of our titles that are launched in more recent years have also shown remarkable success and sustainability. For our PC game Justice, celebrating its 2-year anniversary, we introduced a new character in conjunction with an expansion pack in June. We are very pleased to see its popularity, propelling strong growth billions as well as record high numbers of both new and returning players. Similarly, our SLG title Invincible hit another quarter of record high revenue with strong user engagement in the second quarter. The expertise we have accumulated in SLGs over the past 5 years with this popular title is invaluable. We are carrying on some of this expertise into building other highly anticipated SLG games in our pipeline for China and for the global market. These include titles such as The Lord of the Rings, Rise to War, and Infinite Lagrange. Onmyoji also shows remarkable longevity as we continually introduce new characters. To further enlarge the reach of this IP, we are expanding our portfolio of offerings in the Onmyoji family. Next month, we target to launch Onmyoji Yokai Koya, a simulation game that has been long anticipated by the Onmyoji community. 2 other new spin-off games are also in the making: Onmyoji Idol Project, another simulation game, and Project World, an Onmyoji role-playing game. With more and more experience in diverse game genres, we have also tapped into more diverse and larger user pools. Many of these games are very popular among younger generations and are showing great longevity as well, including Life After and Identity V. Take Identity V as an example. This popular and young IP has gained strong traction with Generation Z users, and we are regularly enriching this IP through a variety of initiatives, including esports tournaments, IP collaborations, and offline activities that cater to this popular base of loyal users. Recently, we launched crossover characters through our collaboration with Detective Conan, a Japanese anime series which quickly started trending in social media outlets, sparking enthusiastic discussion amongst young generations, highlighting the dynamic nature of our games. Moving on to licensed games, the strong performance of Blizzard Entertainment's World of Warcraft carried on well, achieving a record number of peak concurrent users in the first half of this year. Beyond our progress in the domestic market, we have also made notable headway with our international initiatives. Our overseas online game net revenues hit a new record high in the second quarter, propelled by robust performances from Knives Out and Life After in Japan. For example, our collaboration with the Tokyo Ghoul anime series for Knives Out was a huge success, with the game topping the iOS trophy chart for nearly a whole week. Earlier today, we launched EVE Echoes, a next-gen sandbox MMO mobile game that has been long awaited by the user community. In addition to the success of our existing games, we have many exciting games in our pipeline with upcoming titles that include Onmyoji Yokai Koya, The Lord of the Rings, Rise to War, Harry Potter Magic Awakened, For All Time, Revelation mobile game, Ghost World Chronicle, Nightmare Breaker, Infinite Lagrange, Diablo Immortal, and Pokemon Quest. As for our education business, Youdao continues to scale at a rapid pace. Total net revenue rose 93% year-over-year to renminbi 623 million, with positive operating cash flow again in this quarter. Gross billings for Youdao's online courses tripled year-over-year to renminbi 542 million, driven by strong retention and larger scale marketing in the K-12 segment, which increased its gross billing by 229% year-over-year. In addition to strong contributions from junior high school math and physics, we saw more courses growing popular in the second quarter, including high school Chinese and primary school math. To better prepare for the new enrollments during the summer months, Youdao has significantly built up its servicing capabilities, increasing its total number of instructors and tutors to 179 and 2,699 respectively. As we frequently upgrade our course development system, we are building more personalized and stratified services for students with different grades, increasing their in-class interactions. During the quarter, net revenues of Youdao's learning devices reached renminbi 86 million, up 250% year-over-year. Through continued investment in product and technology innovation, we released Dictionary 10 2.0 Pro version with more functionality, as well as Japanese and Korean languages in the past June. The product became the top-selling product of its category on e-commerce platforms during the June 18 event. Looking ahead, we are well poised to continue Youdao's growth trajectory, supported by our strong technology and teaching capabilities, and as we further amplify our marketing efforts to further bolster our student base for the second half of this year. For NetEase Cloud Music, we continue to see triple-digit revenue growth in the second quarter year-over-year, with both membership and live streaming striking new highs. We are very pleased to have secured a multi-year licensing agreement with Universal Music Group. This direct partnership further strengthens NetEase Cloud Music as a go-to platform for high-quality international music and marks a great step forward for China's music industry as a whole. We are very committed to bringing the richest content to Chinese users by introducing exciting global music and incubating independent musicians. In the second quarter, we launched numerous paid live shows for independent bands, giving them more options to stream online during this uncertain time. Also in this quarter, we launched India, our karaoke app, which allows one-click remix capability for limitless creative possibilities when singing on our app. Our users can connect through songs and common music interests and share their mood when recording. These fun and easy customizable features greatly appeal to our younger users. Additionally, our annual subscription service is now available for members of Alibaba's customer loyalty NTES VIP program, one of the major collaborations after Alibaba's investment in NetEase Cloud Music last year. And we are working together to explore more possibilities for future synergies. Turning to Yanxuan, we continued to optimize our operating efficiency in the second quarter in terms of product development, supply chain, and user experience. During this quarter, we introduced a number of popular products, significantly reduced inventory turnover days, and further expanded our Pro membership, who typically represent the most core and sticky users of our Yanxuan brand. As a private label, one of our key strategic goals is to increase brand awareness and marketing appeal to a broader audience in China. During the second quarter, NetEase and Yanxuan executives hosted 2 live broadcasting shows in which we introduced the Yanxuan products, and they were all sold out instantaneously. We also entered into partnerships with top live streamers and KOLs, which led to a rapid growth in sales through live streaming platforms. NetEase is best known for our content creation capabilities. This rings true across our different business segments. As we look to the second half of this year, we are more confident and committed than ever to further extending our reach and bringing relevant, exciting new products and services to NetEase players, fans, and followers around the world. Games in particular, with the introduction of exciting new titles and our global initiatives, we are expected to lead our next wave of expansion as we continue to build value for all of our stakeholders. This concludes William's remarks. I will now provide a brief overview for our 2020 second quarter financial results. Given the limited time on today's call, I will be presenting some abbreviated financial highlights. We encourage you to read through our press release issued earlier today for further details. Total net revenues for the second quarter was renminbi 18.2 billion, or $2.6 billion, representing 26% increase year-over-year. Net revenues from online game services were renminbi 13.8 billion, up 21% year-over-year. The increase was primarily driven by our flagship titles, including Fantasy Westward Journey 3D, Invincible, and the Fantasy Westward Journey mobile game, as well as Blizzard's World of Warcraft. Mobile games accounted for approximately 72% of net revenues from our online game services in the second quarter. Net revenues from Youdao also increased 93% year-over-year in the second quarter, reaching renminbi 623 million, primarily due to the increased net revenues from online courses with a rapid increase in K-12 paid student enrollment and increased sales of intelligent learning devices. Net revenues from innovative businesses and others were renminbi 3.7 billion for the quarter, up 39% year-over-year, mainly due to the increased contribution from NetEase cloud music platform. Overall gross margin was 53.8% in the second quarter. Gross margin for our online game services for the second quarter was 63.8%. Our gross margin for online games is generally stable, fluctuating quarter to quarter within a narrow band based on the revenue mix of mobile and PC, as well as self-developed and licensed games. Gross margin for Youdao for the second quarter of 2020 was 45.2%, compared to 32.9% for the second quarter of 2019. The margin improvement trend was primarily attributable to greater economies of scale and continued optimization over the cost structure. Gross margin for innovative businesses and others was 18.5%, compared to 15.8% and 15.5% for the preceding quarter and the second quarter of last year. The increase was due to primarily increased revenues from NetEase cloud music. For the second quarter, total operating expenses were renminbi 5.6 million. Our selling and marketing expenses as a percentage of net revenue were 12.8%. This quarter-over-quarter increase was mainly due to increased marketing related to new games, as well as Youdao's summer promotion spending, which is typical in the online education space. R&D expenses were renminbi 2.4 billion. We remain committed to investing in innovative content creation and product development. This is what defines us as a technology company. As a percentage of net revenue, R&D expenses represent 13.2% of the total revenue, compared to 13.5% for the same quarter last year. With increased absolute dollar spent in the operating expenses, we are prudently maintaining a disciplined level of total operating expenses to the overall top-line revenue. We are very confident to spend these dollars wisely to further grow the sustainable revenue growth into the near future. Other income was renminbi 1.5 billion for the second quarter of 2020. Year-over-year increase was mainly due to gains from fair value changes of our investment holdings and government incentives recognized in this quarter. Effective tax rate was 18.6% for the second quarter. Non-GAAP net income from continuing operations attributable to our shareholders for the second quarter of the year totaled renminbi 5.2 billion, or $739.7 million, representing an increase of 24% quarter-over-quarter and nearly 33% year-over-year. Our non-GAAP diluted earnings per ADS from continuing operations were renminbi 39.82 or $5.64 for the second quarter of 2020. Our cash position remains strong. As of June 30th, our total cash and cash equivalents, current and non-current time deposits, and short-term investment balance totaled renminbi 103 billion, compared with renminbi 74.4 billion as of the end of last year. In conjunction with our listing on the main board of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, we completed a global offering of 197,202,000 new ordinary shares, which comprise an international offering and a Hong Kong public offering, and the full exercise of the over-allotment options. Gross proceeds from the global offering before underwriting fees and offering expenses were approximately Hong Kong dollars 24.3 billion or $3.1 billion. In accordance with our dividend policy, we are pleased to report that our board has approved a dividend of $1.485 per ADS. Under the share repurchase program approved by our board, as of June 30th, approximately 2.3 million ADS has been repurchased for a total cost of $755.7 million. Thank you for your attention. We would like now to open the call to your questions. Operator, let's go to Q&A, please.
Okay. If you would like to ask a question, please signal by pressing star 1 on your telephone keypad. If you are using a speakerphone, please make sure your mute function is turned off to allow your signal to reach our equipment. For the benefit of all participants on today's call, if you wish to ask your questions to management in Mandarin, please immediately repeat your questions in English. Please ask one question per time. If you would like to ask more questions, please join the queue by pressing star 1 again. Once again, press star 1 if you would like to ask the questions. We'll pause for just a moment to allow everyone an opportunity to signal for questions. We will take our first question from the line of Alex Poon from Morgan Stanley.
在日本发展的一个目标和方向现在你们进入这个市场已经有好几年的时间，而且最近一年时间有非常非常好的成绩。想问现在在日本一个游戏发展的方向和这个投入会放在什么地方？第二个问题想问一下Harry Potter 这个上线的一个战略，这个是不是中国和海外会一起上？如果要想这个游戏的流水的潜力是 overseas 比国内和海外这个潜力的话，哪一边会比较大一些？谢谢。I translate my question. My first question is related to your progress in Japan. In the last couple of years, the progress has been very great. The grossing ranking has done very well. Can you share with us what's your next milestone, what's your next goal in Japan mobile game market? And my second question is related to Harry Potter launch. What's the launch strategy for the game? Is it a global launch together with China and overseas? And if we have to think about the potential of the grossing of overseas versus China, which side would be stronger? Thank you very much.
老板，我们好像听不到您的声音。
能看一下吗？但是他
有听到吗？
好 ，Peter。
Hello。
啊，现在可以了。
Hello。刚刚应该也可以。抱歉啊，就是我们在日本呢取得了不错的成绩，但我们认为还有很大的潜力。我们还需要在日本继续开拓。我们还不满意目前的状况，这是一点。第二个呢，哈利波特。我们会准备充分了再向全球推出。这是不是会同时呢？我觉得这件事情不是很重要，关键是产品本身要得到用户的认同，这很关键。结束了。
好 ，OK。Alex, and for the audience, for everyone's convenience, I will quickly translate William's remarks and apologies for the technical glitch just now. Firstly, regarding our objective for the Japanese market, it's a very important market for our global initiatives, and we've achieved a small milestone there over the last couple of years, but we still think there's huge upside potential for us to further cultivate into the Japanese market. For instance, we are committed to even diversify more offerings, more genres of games into that important market. With regards to Harry Potter, this is a highly anticipated game. We focus a lot more on the product itself, on the possible user reactions and feedbacks and the likeness of this product. Whether it's a simultaneous launch for China plus global market or at a different pace, we don't think that's the top priority for us. The good thing is that we've got approval already, so we have the flexibility. But for us, the focus is really on the product and making sure users are happy with the product when we are fully prepared. So far, the progress has been very well on track. Operator, next question, please.
Okay, we will take our next questions. Alicia Yap, your line is open. Please go ahead.
Hello, thank you. 丁总Charles 晚上好。我先用英文问，然后我再用中文问So my first question is actually regarding the margins. So with the newly signed contract with UMG, how will that change the gross margin and cost profile for the new innovative business? And assuming you may have to pay an upfront fee, all that. So and also with more contracts and all that, how should that change in terms of the potential monetization? Second question quickly is on the sales and marketing. So it seems like this quarter the spend is a bit higher than previous quarter. So wonder if this is one-off or will be a new norm for the rest of the second half. 我的问题是关于利润的。第一个就是我们刚刚跟 UMG sign 了这个 contract， 所以从这个云音乐这边来看，就是说会不会影响到这个 gross margin 这一块在新业务这个板块。然后因为这个 contract 呢，我们会不会有更多的一些变现的一些模式然后另外一个问题是关于那个销售成本销售成本这一块，这个 quarter 其实涨得比较多，所以具体原因想知道一下，然后说这个是有没有一些 one off 的，还是说是一个新的一个常规的这个成本会接下去就是下半年也会是这个成本谢谢。
老板，那关于这个就是利润率的这些趋势，要不我这边直接回答。关于就是跟 UMG 的，就跟环球音乐的这个，您有没有什么comment 需要做一下？还是我这边直接回答吧？
环球音乐那个问题我没有听清楚，你能再说一遍吗？
对，就是环球音乐这一块
就是我们现在跟环球音乐接了。
这问题是什么？
跟环球音乐签约以后，这个对于我们云音乐的这个利润率以及未来一些变现的方式会不会有一些影响，或者带来改变
？OK， 目前看这个合约本身不会，因为这个合约还是比较短的嘛，1年应该不会有很大的影响关键是我们自己要做好云音乐整个流量变现的这个商业模式我们有很多的这个作品越来越受到用户的喜欢我们也看到有更多的中国用户会为这个会成为会员，就为音乐付每个月的月费这是一个比较健康的商业模式当然我们认为仅仅靠会员是要维持一个平衡是不够的，我们还需要深入挖掘这里面的其他的这个服务内容让用户愿意自付这个有更健康的商业模式吧。
Alicia, and for quick translation of William's remarks with some added comments from my end. So first of all, William commented that the multiple year contract, in nature, this changes the sub-licensing formatting for direct partnership. So in essence, it's not really changing the margin trend or on the business side. The deep positive impact from a direct partnership is that beyond music content subscription revenues, that we are now in a direct partnership to possibly explore other formats of monetization with a record label provider. And that gives us more confidence that NetEase Cloud Music would explore and try out more interesting and innovative ways of monetization potential, which in the longer term will lead to a much more healthy user experience on the platform, which then naturally would result in a much more healthy financial profile of NetEase Cloud Music. For your second question, specifically on selling and marketing expenses, yes, like in my earlier comment, this is represented increased absolute dollars, primarily for two reasons. One is the selling and marketing effort for new game launches, in particular the Fantasy Westward Journey H5 game, and also partly due to the summer promotion initiative of Youdao spending, which is again kind of a seasonality for the overall online education industry. However, if you look from different aspects, this quarter, selling and marketing represented about 12.8% of my overall top line revenue. Of course, there's some gaps of spending first and reaping the sustainable revenue growth into the coming quarters. All in all, this percentage level represents a very prudent and disciplined level comparing to our historical level on an annualized basis in the last 3 years. Hopefully that answers your question, Alicia.
Okay, yes, thank you.
We will take our next questions from the line of Alex Yao from JP Morgan. Your line is open, please go ahead.
丁总 Charles 晚上好恭喜这个还是强劲的业绩我这边有2个问题请教一下第一个就是我想跟进一下刚才 Alicia 那个问题，丁总您刚才说想要在音乐的变现上面去做一些更多的这个挖掘，那除了现在的这个月度会员这个变现方式以外，咱们现在正在进行的和以及考量可能接下来会尝试的这个变现的方向，能不能跟我们分享一下然后第二个问题是关于我们的这个海外游戏发展的战略 我们手里面其实也有很多这个优秀的海外 IP 为基础而改编出来的游戏，对吧？比如说大菠萝啊，这个哈利波特啊什么的，那都是其实比较适于在海外做发行的。但是基于现在中美的这个形势和这个美国对中国一些互联网公司的态度，咱们是不是会对这个之前考虑的海外拓展战略会有一些这个修正呢？这个就是这两个问题我自己翻译一下。Thank you, Mandarin, for taking my question. I have two questions. The first one is to follow up Alicia's question on music monetization. William, you mentioned that you guys are considering to diversify the music monetization. So in addition to the current subscription-based monetization model, what are the monetization model that you guys are trying or contemplating? So that's the first question. The second question is regarding the international gaming expansion strategy. You guys have quite a number of gaming titles with very famous Western IP. Those games are very suitable for global, including both domestic and international publishing. But given the current geopolitical tension between China and the U.S., especially what's going on between U.S. government and some of the China internet companies, would you reconsider your international gaming strategy? Let me stop here.
我想说的是说音乐目前其他的变现模式我们正在探索当中但我们相信网易有能力在中国投入更多的资源去扶植和培养更多优秀的原创的中国音乐作品就让华语流行歌曲成为世界上一个比较主要的音乐内容形式，这是一点商业模式本身呢需要探索，但我们对内容本身的发展的投资这个态度是不会变的。第二个事情就是说，虽然最近一段时间世界的整个国际环境比较复杂但我相信游戏本身是受全世界人民热爱的一种娱乐方式我们在这方面的长期的投入不会受短期的局势变化的影响，我们继续还会去投资考虑全球用户对我们作品的喜欢就是说我们所研发出来的游戏作品不只是为中国的消费者，也会考虑为世界上其他民族和国家的消费者的喜好。
谢谢老板，我翻译一下。So Alex, I'll provide a brief translation of William's remarks. For the first question on the possible monetization format around NetEase cloud music, obviously that would require some innovation. There are certain monetization formats that's been proven, but what's more interesting is what are the other more innovative ways that the online music streaming industry can further explore. We are very confident on that front because that's our DNA on content development, innovation. And the one commitment that's unchanged is that we are dedicated to invest more resources and capability into native content, into supporting independent musicians to create a more healthy and sustainable industry trend for China's music industry by and large. Second question, we recognize the complexity around the current background of geopolitical uncertainty. But what we believe as a content developer is that high quality content great game content is universally appealing. This is universal, and we are committed to remain highly selective and serious in developing good game content, not only for Chinese users, but for the global audience. We think as long as we are committed and focused on content development, and universally appealing content goes beyond geopolitical complexity. Operator, next question, please.
Okay, we will take our next question from the line of Eddie Leung from Merrill Lynch. Your line is open. Please go ahead.
你好，William Charles Margaret 谢谢。两个问题，第一个也是想问一问关于音乐的。我们看见一些短视频公司，过去大概1年都加入蛮多这个有音乐有关的一些内容主要是一些视频方面的形式。可是我们有没有想过，如果真的长期，比如说几年后，怎么想会不会这些短视频的平台，现在可能有一些是我们合作方，有可能会变成这个比如说 online music 的一些竞争对手这个是第一个问题。另外一个问题是关于我们也看见一些比较久的一些游戏表现还是非常好的，所以想问一问，总括来讲，那个增长是一个付费用户增长为主还是一个 ARPU 的一个增长为主？So I have two questions. The first one is about the cloud music business. How do you think about the positioning of the short video companies in the online music market in the long term? It seems like some of these short video companies have been adding music-related video contents to their platforms. So just I wonder whether they might become competitors in the long term. And then secondly is about the performance of your legacy hit games. Some of them still generating pretty good revenue and even seeing some growth. So in general, would like to know whether it's more driven by paying user growth or ARPU growth. Thank you. 谢谢。
我想首先你要了解音乐这一个产品它跟短视频是不一样的一个短视频往往是1分钟不到，但一首歌曲呢往往是在一个章节或者往往是在3分钟左右那短视频呢实际上是截取了一个3分钟作品的高潮部分，或者说主旋律部分，或者说副歌部分这么去理解进行做一个背景音乐呢来配上视频像包装出这么一个短视频的内容但用户真正如果你要听一个完整的作品的话，那就会有前奏部分中间的这个副歌和高潮部分，就也还有这个结尾的部分所以用户其实是还是会回到我们这个平台上来听这些听这些作品的还有一个就是说短视频毕竟是一个 UGC 的平台它这里面的作品的质量不像这个音乐这个平台一样，我们每一首歌都是要有非常复杂的人进行这个作词作曲编曲录音混音等一系列的这个每一首歌曲背后都是个 PGC 的作品，是很不容易制造的。所以我认为是短视频公司短视频这一类型的存在，实际上是帮音乐整个产业的发展起到了一个非常好的推波助澜的这个作用推波助澜。虽然他们也用了音乐这个 BGC， 那假设短视频公司没有音乐作为 BGM， 那你会发现短视频是没有任何价值，离开了音乐，短视频这个价值就突然间会少很多很多这是我的一个观点。第二个就是说关于游戏的消费的趋势的问题，实际上一个是现在为游戏付费的用户是越来越多，还有一个方面是说消费的这个两极化是比较明显的有些用户是他经济条件比较好，他会付更多的 钱在这个游戏作品里面他会获得更多的这个娱乐的这个目的但也有些人可能就付一点点就像会员一样就很开心了。所以我看到的整个全行业对游戏的付费的情况是比过去有了更大的一个好转，就大家更愿意付钱这么一个观点。那付钱的人越来越多，但是呢，你从一个平均值来看呢，可能不一定是往上走的。但付费的人数比例是比以前有很大的提高。对，这是我的观点。
好，谢谢老板。Eddie, I will provide a brief translation of William's remarks. Firstly, on your question, we believe short format video and music actually are very synergistic verticals. However, they are fundamentally different because usually for a short format video, firstly, it is short. It's usually less than a minute, whereby a full complete song typically requires 3-4 minutes of listening. So, and also short format video usually takes a highlight part of a particular song, and as a predominantly UGC content platform, it's highly dependent on the music or the background music, whereas the product itself doesn't require so much of a professional touch. On the other hand, on the music platform, it's mostly PGC or even professional content creation, and it's a much longer format. So short format video is a very, very conducive channel to promote a high quality music content. However, if you are a user is a true music enthusiast who wants to enjoy the full length of the song of the kind of the music-oriented touch, then short format video cannot replace the importance and relevance of the music platform. That's how we look at the relationship of the two. We do not think it is a replacement per se. Secondly, on the game growth, William's remark is that he does see that the spending habit or the structural changes is that more users are willing to pay now, pay for high quality content, pay for a better experience in the games. That would mean as a whole, the number of overall paying users is on the increasing trend. At the same time, for games, at least for certain genres of the games, you would also note a very distinct polarization of the spending pattern. Some people are more like a kind of a subscriber, right? They spend not so much, but they spend consistently, whereby some users spend a lot more on certain games. And typically for these types of games, they are more picky, they are more selective on the highest quality of the games, the best in-game experience. So by and large, we think a number of users are going to grow. Our pool may not necessarily grow at the same noticeable trend. However, if our content is relevant and represents the highest quality of the respective genre, we have the potential to grow both the ARPU as well as the number of the users in on our product. Operator, next question, please.
非常有帮助，谢谢。
Okay, we will take our next questions from the line of Thomas Chong from Jefferies. Your line is open, please go ahead.
谢谢管理层接受。晚上好，谢谢管理层接受我的提问，恭喜这么强劲的业绩。我的问题主要是关于我们海外游戏的战略的。我们看到我们过去的战略呢，就是有这个 IP 的 licensing， 也有自己研发的游戏。我们这一次 IPO 之后呢，也会不会就是这个战略方面呢，会多从这个 M&A 的角度去想了？ 我们是怎么去排我们的 overseas 是IP licensing 自己研发还有 M&A 哪一个的比重呢？往后呢我们会多关注了。Thanks management for taking my questions and congratulations on a very strong set of results. I have a question about our overseas game strategies. Given that we have IP licensing, we have our strong in-house development, as well as we get the cash proceeds coming from our Hong Kong listing. So how would we think about our overseas strategies in terms of M&A, IP licensing, as well as in-house development? Thank you.
你提到的这些问题，其实我们都在做只是没有对外宣布而已。这个在海外的发展策略我们不仅仅是license别人的 IP， 我们也在通过 M&A 的方法收购一些 IP 来尝试在海外的这个市场能够取得成功。对，我们往整个策略团队是有在做的。
Okay. Thomas, I'll provide a brief translation. So with the Hong Kong IPO, it doesn't really change our mentality or approach towards a content-focused global initiative. We are always very active and open-minded on all the strategies you mentioned. Actually, there's no false ranking in terms of priorities. IP licensing represents a very, very critical element of our global initiative because that showcase is an endorsement of our content creation capability, operation, publishing capability. At the same time, self-development remains the core of our competence. M&A, we are very opportunistic, but we are also highly open-minded and active, particularly in genres that's supplementary to our core in-house R&D capability.
谢谢William， 谢谢Charles。我可以再问一个follow up， 就是我们看到了Japan 那边的付费率跟阿普呢都是非常的高。我们从我们日本的经验来看呢，我们看国内的付费率跟阿普呢，是不是有机会呢到达这个 Japan 的这个水平呢？And thanks William and Charles. I have a follow-up question is about the paying ratio and ARPU. If we try to compare Japan versus China, should we expect China is heading towards the Japan level in the long run? Thank you.
我想是每个国家都有一定的差异性，这也很正常。但整个经济只要在发展，用户肯定是愿意在娱乐上多花钱的，这个我们是理解的。至少有一件事情我们现在看得到，就是中国消费者在一线城市看电影的钱跟在美国买一张电影票是一样的，这个成本一样的消费能力。
Okay. Thomas, I'll provide again a translation of William's remarks. So first of all, it is very common that different geographies, different economies demonstrate different kind of consumer behavior. But on the longer term trend, we do think that the Chinese consumers' willingness to spend and the ability to spend is on the rising trend. For instance, one small example, if you look at today, the cost of a movie ticket in China is already comparable to a cinema movie ticket spending in the States. Just a decade ago, there's a huge gap, right? For some of us who would recall, there's a huge gap, which means Chinese consumers are more willing to pay on entertainment. As Chinese economy further advance, people are more willing to pay a broad format of entertainment to enrich the lifestyle we think that trend is on the rise. Operator, I think in the interest of time, let us wrap up this call.
Okay, due to time limit, that concludes today's questions and answer sessions. At this time, I will turn the conference back to Margaret Shi for any additional closing remarks.
Thank you once again for joining us today. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact us directly or TPG Investor Relations. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
That concludes today's conference. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. You may now disconnect.